IVM.
Hey, I just lost my wallet. Now I need to call the bank and block my card right away.
Ah, man. But wait, why call when you can do it from the Bob World app itself?
Okay, I can block the card, but what about requesting a new one?
What are you, 50? This is a digital world. You can not only use the app for cards but for various other things as well. The app saves your effort, provides rewards, and many more services right at your fingertips. So ease up and enjoy the digital world of Bob. For more information, download the Bob World app from Play Store or Apple Store. Bank of Baroda. We live in your world.
Hey everyone, I'm your host Akhil Handa, the Chief Digital Officer at Bank of Baroda. The thriving fintech ecosystem has witnessed a plethora of sub-segments, including personal finance management, payments, lending, and regulation technology. One name that comes in everyone's mind while talking about PFM, that's personal finance management, is ET Money. What all ET Money provides and how is it changing the way Indians invest? Let's find out from today's guest, Mukesh Kalra, the founder and CEO at ET Money. Mukesh, welcome to Fintalks at Bob World.
Thanks, Akhil. Great to be here.
Great. So let's start off with your journey, a brief introduction of what Mukesh has, the trials and tribulations Mukesh has gone through to build ET Money, all the way from a young startup to someone where you've had a transaction with Times Group.
Yeah, it's been a great journey till now. I started my career with Inmobi actually. Was the first employee there. It's India's first unicorn, so to say, in 2009-10. And after that, I built a company called Money Sites, which became part of Times Internet, and that's how ET Money was born. So since 2015, we have been building ET Money, and it's been a great run. As we move forward in the discussion, I will tell you how we've actually evolved. But today, ET is one of the largest wealth platforms in the country. We recently announced that we close to $3 billion gets managed on ET every single month. We add close to 500 to 550 crores of new investments every single month. Consumers from across 1,300 cities are actually investing on ET So it's been a great run. Yeah, so that's like the shortest journey that I could actually relate to right now.
Excellent. And now, of course, ET Money has established a name for itself in the PFM space. But there are quite a few solutions around in the market around the same space. So, what would you say is the key USP that differentiates ET Money from the rest of the pack?
Sure, Akhil. I think we Itinerary is actually predicated or built on certain principles. Right, one that we strongly believe in is if a commission-led world is never aligned to the consumer interest. Right, so for example, an agent in the offline world will actually sell you a mutual fund which has commissions baked in, and that's how he or she recovers their cost. But what happens is when commissions are involved, eventually, if the person wants to maximize revenue, they will start mis-selling, and that's what has happened in the past across various stages. And SEBI has come back and tried to actually remove entry load and try to solve for that, but it's still rampant. That has actually led to a lot of mistrust. And the other thing that has also happened is people have become smart, right? With more information that is coming to them, with more transparency that online is bringing. So I think there is this huge opportunity to solve for that mistrust in the space when it comes to specifically investments. So what we did was we said that can we actually build a company without commission? So on ET Money, for example, you actually can invest in only mutual funds which are direct. So there is no commission baked into that. And so that is one big differentiator. And the second thing that happens is you can invest in mutual funds of all the AMCs in the country, right? And from one single place. Now, in a scenario when agent is not selling you direct mutual funds. Where do you go? You will go to mutual fund companies, and there you have to go into individual mutual fund companies and start to buy direct mutual funds. But because ET Money brings all the mutual funds into one single place, you can invest in direct mutual funds without in one place. That's a huge friction remover. Also helps consumers earn 1% higher return on every investment, and that compounds really well over like a long period of time, right? So 1% return, a 7,200 rupees SIP over 25 years can help you save 25 lakh rupees. So I think
Mm.
one big reason that consumers actually have been, loving us is essentially we are not biased with commissions. They earn higher returns. The second thing is we don't also charge for transactions. So that's another three. It's a free transaction platform. The third thing is the amount of powerful tools that we provide a DIY consumer, like a millennial Indian, to really understand where to invest, how much to invest. Like we have this, amazing report card being created. So what happens is there is like 36, categories of mutual funds, 5,000 mutual funds in the country. There is no easy way to actually figure out which is best for Akhil, for example, right? As a person. So what we did was we created a simple report card which is in English, which doesn't talk very dense words. It helps you understand what is good in a particular mutual fund, what is bad in a particular mutual fund, and then you can take a very conscious. And that is one example of of one of the strongest tool that gets used, and that's why people come to us on a daily basis. The other things that actually we have been innovating on is essentially tech-led innovation. So we were the first player in the space which are mobile first. So with mobile first approach, we could unlock something like a video KYC. So we were the first company in India to actually do video KYC in mutual fund, and that actually removed the friction for people to actually have any kind of documents. It's a completely frictionless way. So that actually helped us. Then we innovated on something called as a smart deposit. We believe that for you to keep money in your savings account is a sure shot way of losing it, because inflation is eating into your savings account, right? Essentially. So how do we actually replace a savings account with a product which is liquid mutual funds, right? Which has never been kind of sold to the masses simply because it doesn't earn any commission or anything. So we actually kind of worked with the industry, created a very strong solution in smart deposit, wherein you get your money back into your account within few seconds instead of waiting for 24 hours. So
Right.
instant redemption on mutual fund was another innovation. So there has been a series of innovations which have led to a very strong investing platform, which gives you a complete flexibility, that empowers you as a consumer to really kind of invest on your own with confidence. So I think that's been few things that have actually kind of put us ahead in the curve against our competition.
Perfect. Excellent. Now, for all the work and heavy lifting that you're doing in terms of getting all the mutual funds together, having these innovations, removing the friction in the journeys, you don't charge a commission or a fee, right? So what does the business model look like?
So yeah, great question. It's by design right now. There is something that is exciting that we are working on, that will be launched in the next 1 to 2 months, which will answer that question comprehensively.
Sure.
So
Sure.
so we are working on that, and there are ways to actually kind of still continue on that path of not charging for transaction, not charging for commissions, and still kind of make a sustainable business. There's this whole notion of till the time we don't missell the customer will not make money. We are challenging that core notion. So I think so in the space. So I think we are going to, the way we disrupted the commission led mutual fund selling, we would want to disrupt the transaction led ecosystems, which are not again aligned to the consumers, right? Because for example, when you're doing a transaction on a brokerage, right, if it is charged on per transaction,
Mm.
a broker really doesn't care if you're making a positive outcome or not, whether you're profitable or not. Right? The everybody in the whole ecosystem is driving you to actually make a transaction,
Mm.
if you really look at it. But
Right.
it's not really. So we are saying that there are two things that are very core to us. One is not having commissions. Second is not actually kind of looking at transactions. In the first phase, we disrupted mutual funds. Now we want to go after and ensure that we are still aligned to consumers, go after this whole ecosystem of transaction led, a world that consumers are ending up actually getting into this phase of just doing transactions without positive outcome.
Sure. So we'll wait for your announcement on that front. I don't want to spill any beans here.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
So let's get to, should gears get to the impact you've seen from the pandemic. Now, of course, we see a lot of interest in markets. The markets seem to be unidirectional these days. Perhaps there are many first-time investors who've not seen a bear cycle, and they are under the they've found the next best thing after sliced bread. Uh, what would be your advice to these investors? And B, what are some of the trends that you are seeing which have come up in a post-pandemic world?
Yeah, I think COVID actually did something which was never possible earlier. It added the turbo engine of time and money. So earlier, as a consumer, you would either have time or you ended up having just money, right? Or both of them were suddenly there for a segment of consumers. People were at home, cut down their commuting time, cut down a lot of things, so they have a lot of time at their disposal. And the second thing was because a lot of users went back to their hometowns, there was a lot of savings. So there was more money in the hands and there was more time. And that also actually kind of led to that turbo engine in the wealth space, right? Because all of this money found its way into the capital markets, right? I think that's why the capital markets continue to actually kind of grow. The number of SIPs that we have seen has 3x during that time, like 300% growth in during pandemic. And the other thing that we did, we actually conducted a small research in our consumer group, in our cohort of users, and there was this amazing insight during the pandemic. Actually, because people were seeing loss of lives, close relationship, unfortunately, everybody started questioning their own existence, right? As to, am I doing the right thing in life? By so there was this self realization as to, I need to do something different with my life. Now the moment you actually say that, I want to do something new with my life, either stay at home, right, forever, or probably start a business which is only being at home instead of coming and going into the rat race. Suddenly the first question that everybody had to answer was about, do I have enough money?
Yeah.
And that's how suddenly money became so center stage, right? That, do I have the right amount of money to actually really be financially free, really do what I want to do? Because the self realization is coming. So I think this actually led to this, combined with the awareness that consumers are having, combined with the platforms like ET Money, which are making it super easy for you to start off, right? I think three, four things came together, and that actually has given a huge fillip to the wealth space. And that's why the numbers are actually kind of on a big high. So I think pandemic, while we completely empathize with the the challenges that it threw, but it actually really worked out well for the wealth space.
Sure, sure. No, and the same thing is what we see in banking as well. Everything that has been put on digital is really on steroids
Yeah.
right now. Um, from payments to lending, everything is completely on the
Yes.
rocket ship right now. So, what are some of the key friction points that still remain in the broader wealth and investments ecosystem? Right. So, of course, there are many that have already had enablers come in terms of either a CKYC or a video KYC, a better onboarding experience. You talked about the same day redemptions, and I think these are very good. Of course, there is this direct SIPs, removing the commission. So, what are some of the key friction points that still remain in the ecosystem that you think are fat turkeys that are waiting to be sliced and eaten up?
Yeah. No, great question. Actually, it's like the first wave of innovation is always around access, right? So when the market is opening up, it's all about access. And when you actually want to solve for access, then you will see, remove the friction around onboarding. So video KYC, then instant SIPs, then Aadhaar-based KYCs, Aadhaar-based SIPs, and all that, right? So I think that era is coming to a closure. Now, if you really look at it, any wealth company will more or less start to look now very similar, right? And that's why I think you had this question of what is different about ET Money, right? It's a very fair question, because everybody has solved for the transaction part of it, as to bringing users on board, making the letting them start the investing journeys much more. The future, I think, is going to really be about what happens before the transaction. What is it that you're doing to really help consumers take the right decision about investments, right?
Mm.
And what is going to happen after the transaction is done, right? Which is, once you've invested, what is it that the consumer should be doing? And these two areas are actually kind of completely white spaces when it comes to really, solving for. These are not like step level problems, right? Because transaction is a very step level. Step one, step two, step three. You remove frictions by actually becoming more operationally strong by using technology. So that was an easier battle to fight, frankly speaking. But now it is all about becoming having high amount of personalization. So how do I actually help Akhil make the right choice about his investment strategy, which is super personalized to Akhil as an individual?
Mm.
So how do we actually start to look at that? And now another aspect is, once you've invested, what do you do with your portfolio? So, for example, today on an average on ET Money platform, we are, it saddens me, frankly speaking, is that on an average people have close to 13 mutual funds, 1 3,
Oh, okay.
right?
That's quite a bit.
And we are one of the largest platforms in the country, so the sample size is good enough to really represent the universe, right? Which means that mutual fund itself is actually being looked at as trading, because people are moving, investing from one mutual fund to the other to keep on doing that. But essentially, how do you actually then fix this problem of, eventually you need only 4 to 5 months to really ensure that you are well diversified across different asset classes, whether it is equity, debt, gold, international. So I think those are the two big problems that technology will need to solve. And the best part is that it is all opening up massively. And the other part is that this kind of solutioning is available to the elites in the world, right? Which is the HNIs of the world. They have this kind of solutioning, because how should they manage their even $1 that they have or 1 rupee that they have gets managed really well across the whole life cycle. I think the industry has a chance to bring it to everyone and really, really democratize that advantage that the HNIs are having. And it's like, it's funny that it actually kind of is, the rich is getting the best of the products, getting richer, and the middle income is kind of getting missold. So it's like a very big problem to solve. And that's where I think a huge amount of future buildup will eventually happen.
Sure, sure. And just since you talked about these 13 mutual funds per customer, I'm very curious on hearing what is the kind of demographic that you have in your current customer base.
Sure. 60% of our users are new to investing,
Mm.
which is they've never invested in mutual funds. So that's good, because it actually kind of is helping us increase the overall penetration of mutual fund in the country, right? The second is, the age group is anywhere between 26 to 35 is where 80% of our users would lie. Earlier we thought that we'll be very metro centric, but it has not been the case at all. So
Mm.
it's everywhere, and we get consumers from close to 46,000 pin codes across
Mm.
1,300 cities, right? Which is massive. And so yeah, so I think, and psychographically, I think consumers who really are moving away from the era here, my father's friend will take care of my money, like
Mm.
that era is getting over, right? I think consumers are looking to actually take full control of their decisions, and when it comes to their money, it's becoming more involved, more stronger. So I think we are psychographically, we are seeing that segment really evolving, that I want to actually take calls and be in control. So I think that's the consumer segment.
That gives me a great cue to move into my next question, which is the
Sure.
consumers that are taking charge in the younger demographic, moving to crypto. Uh,
Yeah.
does that is that scary? I find it very scary. But I just wanted to pick your brains on this. Uh, does it look like they're moving in the right direction? Is it too much empowerment that has happened? Do we need to rein in some part of it? How do you think about it?
Yeah, I think it's just about. See, the thing is that there's this funny aspect of crypto is actually digital first, right? As a genesis. So so there is this inherent psychographic trust over anything that is digital in today's world for the younger generation, right? So, for example, consumers actually trust Instagram more than your personal social network to an extent, because the way the influencers are driving so much impact showcases that, right? So I think there's this inherent trust that is there, that it's digital, it will be there. It's counterintuitive to people like us because we have never kind of understood the whole concept of crypto really deeply. But essentially, it's definitely risky. The volatility is massive. If you don't have the heart to, or the mind to actually weather that kind of, or bear that kind of volatility, which is 20% done down in a day, so that is the worrisome aspect of it. The way to actually solve for that is to not really go all in into such a high volatile asset class, so to say, is to just have like 1 or 2% of your overall portfolio into it if you really believe in the underlying technology of blockchain. So I think it's risky for sure. There is, unfortunately, there is no regulation, which, the good news is it's getting better. Probably we'll see a better outcome in the winter session of the parliament where it is being tabled. So I think it will move to, it needs regulation for sure, because a lot of platforms have actually kind of peddled the story that it is safe to invest and all that, which is I think morally wrong. So I think it has its advantages, but needs to be kind of definitely looked upon from a regulation point of view to protect consumers so that they are not betting their house on it and losing their complete net worth.
Yeah, that actually takes me to my next question, which is, to help us understand very broadly the regulatory landscape in the domain, not just crypto. I mean, crypto is, it's an evolving part, but how has regulation been for you in the wealth and PFM space overall? Has it been supportive, enabling? Are there things that are left to be desired? How do you think about that?
Yeah, it's been a mixed bag. I'm sure that it happens. It's a mixed bag for everyone. There is a joke that we used to actually have during pandemic. Uh, SEBI came up with close to 130 circulars, right? Which have been the number of circulars that they've actually sent in the last 4 years. So working
Mm.
from home really did not work, for us in a way, because SEBI kept everybody on their toes. But having said that, apart from the joke, but having said that, I think it is progressive, definitely progressive. There is a conscious understanding that online is the future, right? I think that is really well understood by regulators. In terms of enablement, I think we end up being slightly more conservative and more protectionist as a regulation. Like, they, because of few bad apples, you actually kind of cut the whole forest down. Is what I think the regulation will need to balance out. And it's also on us, players like us, to help regulators understand how the whole online world also operates, because a lot of problems that are happening in the offline world, because there is physical movement of documents, physical movement of a lot of stuff. So it's just, I think the same problems really don't occur in the online world. So I think two things. One is that it's definitely progressive, but the industry needs to make the regulators also really understand how the whole online space operates, and can help really solve for penetration in a big way.
Sure. Excellent. I guess that's it. So, Mukesh, thank you very much for your insights on the whole PFM space. It's been a pleasure. I'm sure our listeners have learned a lot more in terms of investments. Uh, but just before I close in, I wanted some piece of advice for our young listeners specifically from you on their direction on and the style of investment.
Yeah, advice is a very tricky word in today's world. So I would say that, just keep it simple in terms of, like, the number one thing is to always be invested. So it's ensuring that you're not just keeping the money idle. Even if it is moving it to a debt mutual fund, for example, which gives you 7 to 8%, it's still better than getting it sitting idle. So you should be fully invested as much as possible. Second is that there is so much FOMO in the market, as you said, about crypto, about this stock, about an IPO, about this. And if you really don't understand it, right, you are really not investing, right? Because then you're actually acting out of fear of missing out. If that urge is very strong, get done with that urge by investing like 100 rupees. Because what happens is once you're done with your action on that urge, you'll be done with that phase, right? And you will not end up taking a wrong decision about a large part of your money. So that's a very simple thing to actually kind of do, is that you feel that wow, crypto is great, 200 rupees in crypto, get done with it in one way. And the third is really it's easy. Like, there is so many tools that are available for you to understand where you are. Like on ET Money, we have an investor personality, which helps you understand your own biases towards risk and return, which we have worked with behavioral scientists in the UK to help you understand your own biases, which is very tough to understand. Once you have that, you should kind of figure out what is good for me. Try to have some sort of plan in whatever you want to do. Whether it is, a lot of people today want to retire early, right? Like at the age of 40, everybody wants to retire. It's like everything is fast, want to get done with it. But if you don't really kind of put effort into it to understand what it means, it will just be just be an aspiration, and by the time you're 40, you're not done anything. So it's like, so I think just sitting back and using the tools that are available on platforms like ET Money to do, go for it, and then have that process in place to go and ensure that wealth creation actually happens.
Great. So, not doing your research is not investment; it is gambling. Thank you for those same words, Mukesh. And folks, thank you for tuning in. This was Fintalks at Pop World, presented by Bank of Baroda, India's international bank. Hope this series is of help to everyone who listens in, and do get in touch with us and send us feedback and suggestions on what more would you like, or what guests or what kind of topics would you like us to touch upon. That's it for now. I am Akhil Handa. This has been Fintalks at Pop World.
Hey everybody, it's been another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. On Storytellers and Storytellers, Vineet has a candid chat with Anshul Ailavadi. He's the business head at MTV, Beats, VH1 and Comedy Central India. We've added another news show to our network, Probation Se Promotion Tak with Abhinav Trivedi. On the first episode, Abhinav talks about entrepreneurship and all its hardships. Tune in to this Hindi language show for fresh episodes every Monday. On Shunyavan, Shiladitya and myself are joined by Rohit Manglik. He is the founder and CEO of EduGorilla. We discuss how his journey started, what it offers to users, and why they have around 1,500 apps on the App Store. On the Edges and Sledges cricket podcast, DJ Ashwin and Varun discuss the Azim Rafiq racism role, the controversy surrounding Tim Payne, and look ahead to the first India vs New Zealand test. And on Simplify, Chuck, Naren and Tony discuss the antitrust motion against Google and simplify real-time buying for ads. Do follow us on social media. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Also, do remember, go check out our website, ivmpodcast.com/YouTube, to get a list of all of our YouTube channels. And remember, if you're enjoying this show or any of our other shows for that matter, please do tell a friend. And finally, we would like to thank our sponsors on the network this week: Cred, Bank of Baroda, HDFC Mutual Fund, CoinSwitch, Kuber, Intel, and Oxfam India. Thank you so much for making this possible.
Have you ever wondered where the business world is headed? How the ways in which we create, market, and sell to consumers will evolve? Or if we'll ever go back to wearing pants while working? For answers to all of this and more, tune into Advertising is Dead with me, Varun Dugirala. Every Tuesday, as I talk to entrepreneurs, leaders, and change makers from across business, media, marketing, and beyond. You can catch all episodes of Advertising is Dead on the IVM Podcast website, app, or wherever you get your podcast from.